Hey guys, TommyBryson here, and if you are broke, for example, or you have no money whatsoever, should you be trying to actually invest, get financial freedom? The answer is 99.99% of all of you can actually invest today with, for example, Acorns or Stash or any other app out there. You can invest with $1, right? So it's not that hard to actually go ahead and invest, but just because you can doesn't mean you actually should. And that's what we're going to break down in this video, because by the way, when you are broke or, for example, you have no money, the big thing is basically there are things you can actually do with the little money you actually have to get you, for example, a bigger return than you would, for example, in the stock market or, for example, in the real estate market. And that is what we're going to break down in this video. What should you actually be doing? So investing is probably not going to be the best thing initially, although we're going to break everything down in this video. Now, if you guys are new here, I post 3 times a week, so make sure to go ahead and basically subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you're notified. And on top of that, also destroy the like button because it helps a lot with the algorithm. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. All the support is very well appreciated, okay? Now, the very first thing, guys, is I want to define exactly what being broke actually is. If you notice, I said if you're broke or, for example, you have no money. Being broke and having no money are two very different things. And being broke is actually under not having any money. And this is going to be very weird, but by the end of this video, you're going to fully understand everything, okay? Now, the very first thing is, guys, I went on Google and I borrowed a triangle, okay? And you remember, guys, like, for example, when we were in high school or, for example, in middle school, and this showed you, for example, this triangle, like, I think it's called, like, the food pyramid, and it showed you, hey, you can eat fish and bread or whatever. Well, this triangle right here is more like the financial freedom triangle that I'm actually going to break down for you guys in this video, okay? Now, let's get started here. Should I be investing when I'm broke? And if the answer is no, why? And by the way, always ask why. That's the most important thing ever. Now, guys, this right here looks like a bunch of nonsense. I know, I'm well aware, but trust me, by the end of this video, all of this is going to actually make sense. And by the way, all these clouds are actually removable, so we'll remove them step by step as I break everything down. Now, the very first thing I want to show you guys is basically this, okay? This is a triangle right here. So if you notice here, you have being broke at the very bottom, then you have having no money, you have budget, you have WB, and you also have F. And don't worry, I'm gonna break all these things down by the end of this video. But right on the side here, you also have a building. Tommy, why you have a building next to a financial freedom triangle, which you just made up? Well, it's very simple, because initially, when we all get started, we all think that we're basically broke. So for example, in high school, you think you're broke, college, you think you're broke, and then finally when you graduate, that's when you're actually making money. No, you're still broke, okay? Because the big thing is basically, when you have no money, you're not broke. So when you're not able to go out with your friends or buy the sneakers or buy the purses that you actually want to buy if you're a female, the answer is that doesn't mean you're actually broke, okay? It just means you have no money, because here is the cool thing here, okay? We're going to define everything right here. So what exactly does being broke actually mean? And by the way, I put Graham Stephan down here because this thumbnail is pretty funny, so I just put it here for that effect. But let's go ahead and zoom in, guys, okay? I want to zoom in to show you guys everything right here. But the core idea, guys, if you notice here, the reason we have this building is because basically we have 5 levels, right? We have E, D, C, B, and A, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. However, we all start off at the D level. So basically the no money level. None of us start off at the broke level, okay? This right here is very, very important. We all start at an equal level, because we all have no money when we first go to college or when we're in high school or middle school, and especially kindergarten, unless you're hustling over there also. However, though, here's exactly what I mean by being broke, okay? So let's go ahead and basically remove this cloud right here and put it to the side. Being broke means, for example, poor and rich. Now, what do I mean by this, okay? I mean, you can have a poor person, statistically, by the way, and also a rich person. I make a lot of money and they can still be broke. Why? Because they spend way too much money. Or, for example, you have paycheck to paycheck, and you also have, for example, a lot of debt. And that's where we come into the entire idea of being broke. By the way, Graham Stephan is not broke. It's just a funny picture. Everyone relax, okay? However, say, for example, you have a lawyer that can also be broke. Doctor also can be broke. And also your average person that's out there, student that's crazy in debt, that's also broke. But when we first start off, we don't start off with any of this stuff. So although we might not have that much money, you might be like me, for example, in this picture right here with just $1, it doesn't mean you actually are broke. And this right here is the hardest thing. It's when you go, for example, from the floor level all the way down to the basement by making a few very common mistakes. For example, you have, I want to go to college, so I get into a lot of debt. I want to buy a property, I buy one that's too expensive, so now I go into crazy mortgage debt. I want to buy these things and these things, so I basically get a credit card and put it on the credit card. And before you know it, you go into more debt, more debt, more debt. And the big thing is basically, guys, I always want to make this very clear. When you have somebody, by the way, the answer is not going to be making more money. When you have a bad system, for example, if you're a lawyer making $100K per year or $200K per year, but you're spending, for example, $20,000 per month, the answer is you're broke because you spend more money than you actually make. That's what you want to avoid. So I'd rather 10 times just have, for example, no money than be at the broke level. And the one thing is, guys, that basically most people, when they're broke, they want to go straight to, example, I want to build wealth, okay, all the way up here. I want to build wealth. Or if you have no money, I want to go ahead and build wealth. But they usually skip this part right here, is basically the budgeting phase. Okay, now we know exactly what being broke is. It means you're living paycheck to paycheck, you spend more than you actually make, you might be in crazy debt, and it kind of feels exactly like a hamster running on a wheel. And they're like, I'm running a lot, but I'm not really moving and I'm not going anywhere. It's kind of like being on the treadmill. You're there, but you're not actually going anywhere. That's not what you actually want. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and make the definition for what does it actually mean when you actually have, for example, no money. All right. So let's go ahead and remove this cloud right here and put it right here. Now, this is why I say that basically having no money is the best place to be, because basically at this point you have, for example, no crazy debt. You're not living paycheck to paycheck because basically you got no money, but it's the perfect time to actually pick something that is actually going to make sense for you. It's kind of like the sense when you say like, hey, I'm going to go to college or I'm going to get this job, but you're just getting started out. So you're not in trouble. You're not making any money. You're just at that neutral level where you get to actually make a difference in your life. And this can be very, very important. So you want to make sure you actually don't mess it up. And that's why I use right here, having just $1, okay, does not mean, for example, that you're actually broke. Okay, that's what I want to make sense here. Now, let's move on, for example, to the budget phase. Okay, now what does this mean, guys? Okay, the budget phase. It means, for example, that if you're broke or if you have no money, it's the first part you should have to be focused on. Now, why? Now, let's go ahead and remove this cloud right here. The budget phase is all about, for example, having control, learning, and also, for example, learning also the rules of money. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit more here to the budget phase, okay? Because the main idea, guys, okay, is that although you might be right here where you're just budgeting and everything else, this is the most important part. And I like to use this example right here, which is basically, look at, this is funny, you have the Family Guys people and also, for example, driver's license. And this example is basically, let's say, for example, right, everyone gets paid money at some level, whether it's from your parents or whether, for example, a part-time job or a full-time job or a business or a career, whatever you actually have going on, right? But it's kind of like you're making all this money, you have all this money, but you actually don't know how to use it. So a lot of times you end up going into crazy debt, you end up being broke and all this stuff. It's like starting something out without really knowing the rules of money or how anything actually works. And the example I use all the time is basically this. If, for example, I gave you a brand new car, okay? It's paid off, everything's fine. However, you've never driven before. And the one thing is that I'm gonna give you this car only if you go ahead and drive it in a highway, okay? But you don't have a license, you never drove before. What do you get on that car and actually drive it to get that car for free? Some people might say, yeah, Tommy, I'll do that because I play Mario Kart or whatever. But in reality, the average person is probably gonna say no. But if I said, for example, hey, I'm gonna give you this car, but you also have to drive not just yourself, but also, for example, your entire family. So your mom is in there, your dad's in there, your aunts, your siblings, everyone is in there. Are you still gonna go ahead and drive that car? You know, usually the same people are gonna say no, because if I drive that car, there's a big chance I'm actually gonna get hurt because I haven't learned how to drive. It's the same idea with money. If you have money and you're trying to invest, for example, or do whatever you want to do with it, but you don't know how it actually works, the answer is you're taking this massive risk. So just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. So that's why it's so important initially, when you're actually broke, or for example, you have no money, you learn the rules of money, you learn how to budget your money, and lastly, you learn basically everything you can about investing and the very basics, because that's the way you can have confidence in what you're actually doing. So I'll tell you guys a story, guys, okay? When you're trying to invest money, but you have no information, a lot of the times you're going to get scammed and finessed. You know, I have people that call me on my third channel, the TommyBryson channel, okay? And they get scammed all the time. Tommy, I invested this money over here into this cryptocurrency with this crazy broker. I didn't get back any of my money. It just got lost in the sauce, okay? I got basically finessed. I got scammed. You want to avoid them. The best way to avoid is basically by learning more about money. Now, on top of that, guys, okay? So if you go from being broke to no money to now budgeting, so you actually learn about money, what is going to be the next step? Well, the next step is going to be, for example, WB, which stands for wealth building. And most people want to start right here, but in reality, if you don't have the information, again, you're going to have a very hard time over here. So let's go ahead and basically remove this part right here, this cloud thing. Now, wealth building, what is it about? A lot of the times it's going to be about these 4 little steps right here. It's about paying off your debt first. Then, for example, getting security. Then you start investing, and then you start paying off long-term assets, okay? And this right here, guys, is all about usually, okay? When you first get started here, it's about keeping your head down and working very hard. It's not about what you see, for example, on the media, social media, whatever it is, where you see people with gold chains and all this stuff. No, it's about hard work right here. Because in reality, paying off your debts and going from basically being broke to like having no money is going to be very hard initially. It might take you 12 months, might take you 3 years, or whatever it is. Then security basically means, for example, building an emergency fund at least 3 to 6 months, because money in some way is supposed to give you security. That's the whole point here. On top of that, you should start investing. Once you're done, for example, with the debt payoff, then also the emergency, you can start investing into, for example, the stock market, because you'll have extra money to actually do this with. Now, what do you invest into? I have videos on that, but the basic idea is going to be, for example, usually index funds, things you actually understand. And when you do the whole learning about money and investing, you'll know exactly what to do. So if you want to copy my entire investment portfolio, I have a link down below to M1 Finance. If you want to copy that over, click that link and actually get that entire thing. And by the way, guys, everything you see right here, I'm going to put a link down below to download this entire like triangle and actually have it so you actually know what to actually look forward to when it comes to actually get into financial freedom. Now, the core idea is, guys, what does this mean down here though? Pay off long-term asset. Now, the one asset that a lot of people are going to try to buy is going to be a home. And home equals shelter. Shelter equals, hey, I need somewhere to actually stay. But it's very expensive. Usually, it costs you 1/3 of your income, if not sometimes more. So the core idea is to actually build wealth. Imagine, for example, a life where you don't have a mortgage. That's very different from everything else, because that means over 1/3 of your income stays in your pocket and is actually saved once you're done with the mortgage. But again, to break all this thing down, guys, if you guys want to know exactly how to buy a home, I'll also link a video down below on the 33% rule and how everything actually works. But the core idea is that when it comes to wealth building, it's about paying off your debts, having security, so emergency fund. On top of that, you start investing between 10-20% of your money, and then also you pay off the long-term asset, for example, a home. By the way, notice I did not say a car. A car is not an asset. We all know this by now. Now, what is next, Tommy? Because what is this right here, the F? Does it stand for something else? No, it stands for freedom, okay? The F right here stands for freedom, and it's all about basically security, invest, and enjoy. Which basically means, yeah, you still have your emergency fund, so you never actually spend that money in case anything crazy happens. You still invest money, so you can actually allow that money to actually keep growing and growing and growing. And then, for example, you actually get to enjoy your wealth. Now, freedom to me means, for example, and by the way, this is like the whole idea, guys, so it all kind of comes together, which is pretty fun here. So everything kind of comes together here at the end. This is how it kind of like looks all the way towards the end. Download this sheet right here. The link is going to be down below, so you kind of get the whole perspective here. But the overall idea is that, to me, you know, having freedom or financial freedom is not about, for example, having $1 billion or $1 million in the bank. It's more about having more money coming in than you have going out. But not just from the sense of like, hey, I make $1,000, I spend $100, so I'm financially free. No, the answer is, if you have, for example, a good investment account, you have security, meaning you have an emergency fund, and you also have, for example, no debt, including the mortgage by this point, right? You're like operating from a sense of like, hey, I have ultimate security, meaning my house is paid off, so it's mine. I have a lot of money in my investment account, which is great. I also have my job, which I actually love. So overall, guys, okay, so if investing is not going to be the best thing to do initially when you're broke or have no money, what is going to be the answer here? The answer is going to be, for example, it's going to be usually, if you're broke, stop being broke, meaning you pay off your debts and you kind of level things off again. But if you're basically having no money, the answer is you're going to get a better return on your investment by going ahead and investing in yourself, for example, into a career. Because this way means, for example, let's say, for example, you're broke and you grab 20K and you put it in the stock market. That might make it, for example, 10% a year, which is basically $2,000 per year. However, if you grab that same 20K and invest it, for example, into a degree or a career, well, that can equal, for example, 40K per year or 60K per year or 80K per year. That's 100% or 200% or 400% return on your money. That's the core idea. So initially, when you're broke and you have no money, if you're broke, you're trying to stop being broke by paying off your debts. If you have no money, you're trying to go ahead and basically upgrade your skills, okay? So if you don't make more than 40K per year, the answer is you want to go ahead and find a job to actually be able to make you that much money. That means, for example, not just college, by the way. It can mean, for example, trade school. It can mean a license. It can mean, for example, college also, by the way. It can mean anything like that. The goal is to pick a career, not just one that makes you money, but one you actually enjoy. Because, by the way, this whole game right here, guys, okay, this whole thing here is not, for example, like a sprint. It is a marathon. And it's not like a marathon for like a few hours. No, it's a few years, right? So you want to make sure the job you're working, the career you're actually working, is one that you actually enjoy. So while you're doing this whole thing, you're actually having fun at the same time. Like me personally, guys, okay, I am still right here at the wealth building phase. Just basically one step above, for example, having no money. This is how crazy this is, right? I paid off my debt, I have security, but I'm still investing and paying off my long-term assets, right? That's the whole idea. So this right here, it takes a while. So imagine, for example, if I had a job that I hated, how miserable would I actually be? Very. But since I do exactly what I want to do and I have fun actually doing it, by the way, it's not just YouTube, but if it was, for example, accounting or finance or whatever I wanted to actually do and have fun with, I would be perfectly happy while I'm working towards the entire step right here. That's the core idea. You know, enjoy life to its fullest while you're working towards this stuff also. And that's why it's so important. You got a budget. So down below, guys, I'll link everything you actually need. For example, the triangle. I'll link, for example, best trade jobs. I'll link, for example, how to invest, how to pay off debts. And lastly, I'll also link, for example, my top books when it comes to investing, okay? So if you guys want to see all that stuff, check the description. The description is down below. That way you know exactly how to do everything. But I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Comment down below. Let me know, did you actually learn something from this video? And are you still going to try to invest when you're broke? Or, for example, are you going to try, for example, to go ahead and upgrade your skills first to actually have more money? Or if you are having a good skill, but you're just so broke because you spent all the money on debt and all that stuff, the answer is get out of debt first, okay, guys? But comment down below, let me know. Like this video if you liked it, guys. It helps a lot, so don't get so much. On top of that, also, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you're notified. It helps a lot also. On top of that, lastly, if you guys want to call me one-on-one and talk to me for free, join me on my third channel and schedule a call today. The link is down below. On top of that, also, if you guys want to watch more content like this, here's a video right here and click my face right here. And as always, peace.